to the Doctor Who Marathon. I'm your host McEdam, and today we're going to be talking about Adam from Series 2 of Torchwood, written by Catherine Tigana and is directed by Andy Goddard. Now, this is another very important aspect to the show, as it deals with a lot of characters and personalities of the main characters. But main focus in this story is humour. Let's be honest, it's a mainly humour one. We've had, in terms of the TV series, just back-to-back episodes which are considered some of the best in the series. We had Sleeper, we had To the Last Man, we've had Meat, and now Adam. And this is like a line of episodes which everybody considers some of the best that Torchwood has to offer. And so that's all interesting. This is actually the first time I've ever watched it. I'm doing it for this marathon. So quite interesting experience. Is it as good as people think it is? It's 50-50, I think. I think there's a lot of good things going for it. However, I wish there was just a little bit further. I wish it was a little bit longer. I wish there was a little bit of more to it, if that makes sense. The story itself, the narrative, the idea of the plot is very well, a very great idea, but it is something that has been a common trope in science fiction. I always love it. It puts that eerie feeling, like walking into a house and then there's somebody there who everybody seems to be familiar with, and they seem to be familiar with you, but you have no memory of them, and it's kind of like there's a parasite into your life, and it's very strange and very bizarre. And this story plays on them ideas, plays on them fears. So I might be also a little bit bitter by this because it's episode's called Adam, and Adam here is a self-serving character, because the story revolves around a character named Adam, and so, as somebody of the Adam name, it's kind of irritating in that sense. I always hate it when there's there's a character that shares the same name with you, and they are just the worst. Like in the actual Doctor Who series, we had Adam Mitchell, the companion, who is just the most annoying character in sci-fi, and then we have this Adam here, whether he is a bad character or a good character in terms of how well they're written is beyond a get, but in the story he's a bad guy, and he's supposed to be this kind of nonchalant, self-absorbed character. So anyway, we get the pre-credit sequence, and right off the bat, something which I kind of was hoping in the last episode, Meat, with Reese having a lot more of a focus in the stories, is something which quickly gets paid off, because Reese is actually a bigger part of this narrative. Not as big as I think he should have been. The first half of the episode, he is a prominent character, and a lot of this affects him, but then halfway through the episode, he kind of disappears from the narrative, and it's mainly Gwen's struggle, like it was previously. Again, comparing it with Meat and my hopes and things, my hope was that episode would be the kicking point of characters being a lot more outgoing, a lot more speaking out their emotions rather than bubbling in and letting the drama of key characters keeping secrets be a part of it. And this is a great example of that aspect continuing, as we get to learn more about Jack, we get to learn about Toshika and Owen and Gwen and everybody really. So anyway, we get to the pre-credit sequence has Gwen and Reese just enjoying life, and Reese is he can't wait to get back at work and fight aliens, and they're snogging and on the bed having a laugh. And then she enters the Torchwood hub, where we get introduced to, of course, Jack, Yanto, Adam, Owen, and Toshika. Wait, that doesn't sound right, does it? Jack, Yanto, Adam, Owen, Toshika. Huh? That's strange. Like, and Gwen notices it. It's like, hold on, who are you? And everybody's like, that's Adam. He's been working with us for 3 years. How didn't you remember him? And then he comes up to Gwen and touches him on the shoulder. And then Gwen has these kind of flashbacks of Adam, part of the crew. And Gwen is like, oh yes, Adam, how could I? Sorry, I must have like woken up funny or something. Are you okay? And they have a hug. And that's the narrative. That's the flow of the adventure. The story deals with this Adam character who's basically, he's basically infiltrated the tortured team and has altered all their memories so that he's part of the team. And right off the bat, we get to see how this all plays out. He seems to be we actually don't actually know what role he plays, but a lot of people seem to trust him. He seems to be Jack's right-hand man. And here's where the main humour comes from, because later on we learn that Adam can alter people's memories to the point where their personalities can change completely. And what he has done is he's basically taken over Toshika's memory so that instead of her being in love with Owen, she's in love with Adam. And their relationship is so symbiotic in a sense that Toshika gets this massive confident boost. And she's basically like Owen in a way. She kind of sees characters being sweet towards her, and she kind of plays jokes around with that. Whilst Owen, on the other hand, is a lot more innocent, shall we say. Their roles are essentially reversed, and included in that is their relationship, as now Owen's the one who fancies Toshika, and he is kind of like trying to say like he loves her, but she is in a relationship for Adam, which the relationship has in their memories been for 1 year. It's on their anniversary, or at least that's the memory of it. It's the memory of 1 year. And the Torchwood team seems to be just fine. You know, I like how this story does take its time to breathe, to understand our characters until weird stuff goes on. A great example is Gwen, the main like focal point at the first half of the episode. Gwen goes back to her house where Reese goes up behind her and gives her a nice kiss and snog in the back. But she just freaks out and she puts a knife up to him and is like, "Who the hell are you?" And she gets on her phone to Jack. It's like, "Jack, somebody has just broken into my house. Get here immediately." What? She's forgotten about Reese? And Jack and the torture team get into Gwen's flat and is like, "What's wrong? This man, he's staying at he's my husband, he's my boyfriend." And Jack's like, "Yeah, he's Reese, he's your fiance." What? "Yeah, you got photos everywhere. You got a wedding ring, engagement ring on your finger. Don't you remember Reese?" And that becomes a sort of the issue, the drama in the first half. It's Gwen struggling with her memories, and that seems to be the vocal point for the first half of the episode. And this is where I'm talking about when her and Reese basically become the main characters, and Reese is a prominent role in the character, as you know, there's the whole, first of all, it's awkward because she has no memory of him, and she kind of feels like it's false and that people are lying to her, but they slowly try and convince her. Then there's the moment of her basically is like, "Okay, you are someone important to me. I just, honest to God, can't remember." And there's great dynamic moments between them. However, they're extremely short, and this plot point itself should have been its own little episode, but it's tied in with this massive, the massive problem of Adam, and so when halfway through the episode she kind of remembers Reese, and she remembers, but she doesn't have the feelings there, as if like she just gained the memories back, but doesn't actually remember living through them. And so when that happens, which happens like, I think it happens like midway, when Reese is in the shop and he's complaining about the guy behind the counter just walks off, and she laughs about it, and she kind of has this memory, and they also talk about it in the bed, and they have sex. But then after that, Reese is a non-entity in this story, which is a really, really big shame in my opinion. And the story then mainly focuses on Jack. Now, Jack is going through his own thing. He's trying to find, he starts off trying to find this weevil, and he's seeing a vision of a ghost, this child that keeps appearing to him. And then one day he goes into the sewers and finds the ghost of his father. Yes, we are delving into Jack's family. And Jack escapes as the father's like, leave now, leave! As Adam just suddenly appears, and Jack's like, what are you doing here? He's like, I came along with you, don't you remember? He touches his shoulder. Jack's like, yes, of course. Yeah. And Jack is basically, he's been forced to have these memories with this boy who keeps appearing throughout the episode, and the memory of his father. And Adam tries to push him into talking about his memories, and hopefully he can help. Hopefully he can talk. Obviously, he's manipulating Jack because, you know, he's the bad guy. Infected, but in terms of the narrative, he's just sort of there at the moment, and Jack is being slowly pushed by this Adam character to talk about his feelings, because Adam keeps putting in this memory that he's always been there for Jack. He's the one that's been stuck with like his best mate. Maybe, I wonder if that implies from Jack's memory he remembers Adam during his travel with the doctor. That'd be kind of interesting. But yeah, and it's here that we get our first really flashback to Jack's past, as we learn that Gray is involved with Jack's past. Gray is the character that was mentioned by Captain John Hart in the episode Kiss Kiss Bang Bang at the end of it, which is that massive teaser. It's like, oh, by the way, Gray's alive. Here we learn out who exactly Gray is. Gray is Jack's brother. We actually get a flashback of him as a kid, and they're all running away from these creatures. I love the way how Jack doesn't describe them, doesn't know what they are. He just says, these creatures, they are beyond your wildest imaginations, horrifying. I love how we don't get a name, we don't get a mention of what they are, we don't get an appearance. It's all left to the imagination, whether that is later shown in later episodes. I don't know yet, but I like how we don't get to see any at the moment. However, for those of you eager year fans out there, you might recognise the sound effects of the invaders of Jack's home world. They are the same sound effects used for the crinitoid, for the, what are they called? The things, the bat things from School Reunion. Crinitoid, something. You know what I'm on about, the teachers that turn into bats. Whether that's implying that Jack fought them as a kid, or whether it was just the same sound effect, probably that's the likely case. We probably won't never know, unless it's described later on what exactly they were. Now, Jack, and we basically learned that Jack as a kid was living in a society under war, essentially, and the threat of invasion could happen at any moment. And one day, the invasion force of this enemy appeared, and Jack and his brother were forced to run as his father went to go back to the city to try and find his mother. And Jack let go of his brother's hand and was never seen again. He spent years looking for his brother, but completely disappeared. No trace of Gray ever again. As Jack, after the invasion, after the bombing had taken place, Jack goes back to his home and finds that his father is dead, and his mother basically asks Jack, of course, he wasn't named Jack then, but you never get a name for Jack at the moment. She asks him where's Gray, and she starts panicking and starts hugging her. So in terms of their family, it's just his mother and him that was left after that tragic day. And these emotions of Jack are part of the main narrative of the adventure. I do feel, however, it's not as strong as the script and the directing give it out to be. Like, some of the directing of it come off a little bit too corny, and we get these scenes when Jack's in the wilderness and he's just calling out for his father and for Gray, and he's in his suit, and we get these weird flashbacks. I don't think they're as powerful as the episode wants it to be. It's also I clearly feel that for the most part, not all of it, I do feel like here that this story arc, because the whole thing with Gray, I presume, is a story arc, is mentioned in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, so I imagine this is not the last time we hear of Gray and Jack's past. But here, some of it sometimes feels like it's playing into the narrative at hand, but it does feel like we're majority of it does feel like we're setting it up for later on in the series. What's this? What happened to Gray, are you wanting to wonder? Well, you'll have to find out in the next episodes. Hate it when shows do that. Like, it's not too bad here. It does have, a part of it does play into Jack's fears and his mourning over these memories. We learn that Jack actually buried his memories of his family years back, and Adam is kind of pushing these memories back to the front line of his mind so that he could infect them in a way. And so the rest of the torture team slowly try and figure out what's going on. Now Yanto, he keeps a diary of everything, and when he reads his diary, he is freaked out. He is astonished. Adam isn't mentioned anywhere. And Adam, we basically learn Adam is this entity. He is seemingly a non-existent entity who has basically forced himself into existence. We don't know yet whether he is actually a human who gained these abilities or is an alien creature. But anyway, he, after being discovered by Yanto, he basically implants him new memories in which Yanto is a murderer, that he has killed 3 girls and just feels absolutely guilty about it. I love the scene in which Jack walks into the base and just finds Yanto just covered in sweat, cradling onto the floor, and is like, you need to lock me up. I killed 3 people. I'm a monster. And Jack just does not believe him. And we get a really greatly intense scene in which Jack basically puts Yanto on a lie monitor, and he's making Yanto describe how he murdered these girls in his memories, and it's really messed up, and it's really the way that Gareth David Lloyd? Gareth David Lloyd, yeah. The way he plays that is phenomenal. But again, the idea of Yanto all of a sudden being guilty for 3 murders, at least in his eyes, being this killer who has killed 3 people, and he's enjoyed it, he did it to pleasure himself in a way, could have done a lot more, because it's used as a plot element to get Jack to learn about something, as Jack is like, I honestly don't believe you, I'm going to check the CCTV. And where he learns, and it's here that he learns that Adam has been, he actually implemented his memories, and he's actually then goes back and discovers that Adam's only been for the Torchwood team, I believe he says 2 days. And Adam has basically imprinted himself here, and he makes Yanto look at this and is like, look! And Yanto then clicks, is like, okay, I didn't actually murder these 3 people. They are all just fictional memories. I get that they needed to, find a way of Jack doing it, but the way they did it was so... That should have been its own episode. Like, Yanto being hypnotized, in a sense, to believe he's a killer. Like, I think I'm more annoyed because I think the plot didn't want it to be that good. If that makes any sense. Like, it wants to keep the focus on Adam. But Gareth David Lloyd does such a great performance there. But when I was watching this and when it's revealed, when he quickly learns about what actually happens, it makes me really disappointed that that isn't much more of the main focus. And so Jack does this thing where he kind of hypnotizes everybody to remember their life prior to Adam, or at least have their memories out. He puts Adam at gunpoint at one point. After a great scene, I just realised I didn't talk much about Owen and Tashika, because there's constantly Tashika and Adam are kissing and flirting with each other, and Tashika's constantly mentioning this like, I'm just waiting for Adam to call me, it's supposed to be our anniversary, I don't know what to do. And Yanto is like, Owen is just like, well, if you were my girlfriend, I wouldn't stick you up, I wouldn't let you wait, I would be there for you because I love you. And there you go, I said it, I love you. And Tashika is like, how dare you, it's inappropriate. By the way, you're not even my type. So even if I wasn't with Adam, I'd still won't get with you. And I was just like, okay. Like, this subplot with their subplot is basically the same in the last episode with Tashika trying to reveal herself to Owen about her love for him, but the roles are reversed because the concept of the story put in a much more humorous effect. Now, a part of me feels like, because we're dealing with the ultimate memory thing, and we have both Gwen going through such a great storyline, and Yanto going through a great storyline, and Jack kind of putting the piece together, that this subplot, though it does kind of lead back into the Adam stuff, because it's Adam's ruining their lives yet again because Adam is basically taking over Tashika. But I feel like thematically, this is the weakest element, and a part of me feels like this element was just forced to give Yanto and Tashika something, Owen and Tashika something. I keep getting Owen and Yanto mixed up. Owen and Tashika something to do. However, the idea of the swap up is so funny that any fan of Tashika and Owen, this guy included, will enjoy the hell out of it. It's a great little fun little moment. It's mainly done for humorous effect. There are some dramatic scenes, like when Tashika basically puts the gun up to Jack, saying, how dare you do this? How dare you? I love him. He's been with us all this time and you're going crazy. How dare you lock him up? And Jack is like, Tosh, I'm only going to lock him up. We won't hurt him. And so he gives them this, he then trances them. And this scene where he hypnotizes them to remember is so weirdly done. Like, Jack describes him as like, come on, tell me your lives. Tell me about your proudest moment. And the editing of it, you can't tell if they're talking and we're just getting a different clip and they're taking their time. Like, the process of it is hallucinating and stuff. or whether they're just thinking of it and only speaking out regularly. It's a very weird scene, and it's a really weird way to finish it, because characters' plot lines in this episode just drop dead at this point. Gwen is just like, I remember my love for Reese, and I love him and I care for him. And then she turns to Jack and is like, but not as much as I love you. Now this is something that has been implied, essentially, and it's here I think it's the most strongly implied. I've stated in those episodes I'm not a huge fan of Gwen and Jack being having this love in that capacity, in like a relationship sense, but so I'm gonna retcon it in my head to say when she says like not as loves him as Jack. Like I feel like it's more like they see themselves as like she loves him as a brother. That sounds like Jack's been in the friend zone. That's pretty bad. Oops. And Gwen, Toshika, and Yanto, and Owen, they basically have like to talk about their memory, the most proudest or saddest memories. Toshika's is maths, which I think is kind of. I mean, she's the only Asian character, and the only amazing part of her memories that she can think of is her love for maths. I mean, don't get me wrong, maths is a very proud subject to be proud of, but it's not a good look. It's not a good look, BBC. Owen's is his rocky relationship with his mother, and Yanto actually referencing the Cyberwoman basically explains that like he loved Lisa and he remembers like he had to kill Lisa, and that Torchwood gave him a new life, a new way of existing, and that plays into something which that idea of characters not bubbling emotions anymore, to let it burst out, which I wanted to see after Meet. So I'm really happy with that. But then, like, as soon as like they have this little discussion, Jack makes them take a pill to make them forget Adam, leaving all their character lines just like drop dead. That's it. And it's kind of odd. The hypnotism scene. I don't know how to feel about it. I feel like there could have been a lot better ways of resolving that for most of the characters. But I feel like the reason they did it is easily because it's quicker and they want to keep the audience on the what's Jack's backstory going on? Because Jack has one more final encounter with Adam after he's locked up. It's here that we learn that Adam is actually a creature of the void, the gap between realities. He exists within nothingness. And somehow he escaped, and that through the rift, and that he then imprinted himself into this life. So he's not human, he's technically not an alien. He's more in tune to a god or a demigod than anything else. So that's kind of interesting. The guy who plays Adam, I should really have talked about him. He is a decent actor. He does a decent job here. I think his character is a bit generic, but I feel like that was kind of the point. That, he just sort of came in and nobody even seemed to remember how he got in and all that. And his relationship with other characters, apart from really Toshika, is just a sort of buddy and friend, but he has this, twisted because, he's the villain. And he, at this point, he basically tells Jack, it's like, right, please don't let me forget. Before you kill me, basically, let me give you one more memory back. Let me give you back a memory of your father. And so Jack basically hands ties, but he gives in and allows Adam into his memories so that he experiences a moment, the last happy moment with his father again, which has been lost to him throughout time. However, there's something Jack doesn't quite remember in his original memory of it. The ball, he's playing with his father and something happens so that he interacts with another kid. He bumps into this another kid. A kid named Adam. And Jack is like, wait a minute, let me... you've spoilt everything. Like, he has an argument with his father because young Jack is like, no, you shouldn't be here. It's wrong. You don't belong in here, this time, in this memory of mine. Get out. And so Jack's memory has been replaced with this awful memory of his father looking down at him because he seemed to have just started picking on this random kid. And his father and Greg go disappearing into the sand as Jack hurls himself in his memories to go for them. And so Adam then announces that he has basically locked himself in that memory. If you erase me, if you take this pill and get rid of 2 days of your life, that memory of your father will also disappear. And you'll never have that memory again. Jack is torn. And you can see it in John Barrowman. John Barrowman's fair. We talk about like how great John Barrowman is as an actor. But when he does that like tearing eye and he starts like kind of choking up, my God, what a performance. And so he takes the pill and Adam dissipates as he gets retcon and puts himself to sleep on the floor. And I love how he just wakes up, he goes into the main torture hub, and the rest of the torture team are like, Jack, we have 2 of our memories wiped, 2 days of our memories wiped. We looked in the CCTV and nothing's there. But yeah, then we've all seem to have forgotten 2 days, and it's like, huh. Like, nobody questions it. It's really bizarre. Like, this is a torture team. They deal with the supernatural. But the idea that 2 days of their memory has been disappeared doesn't get a mention. I forgot to mention there's also this thing with this box that Toshika and Owen were examining throughout the story. At the end, it turns out that Adam, he leaves like a little note, his name written on his plastic bag with his box. And Jack finds a way to open this box only for just sand to come out, leaving this distant memory in there, as well as Toshika finding his flowers on her desk, which were given to Owen during the Adam memory phase. And he has a card that says, I love you and sorry, love Owen. But Owen's just like, that's not me. I'm not the guy. I never apologise and I never give flowers. And that ends Adam. Overall, I do agree. It is a very good story. And I love the concept of it. That somebody needs to make that idea and just do it again in Doctor Who because it's such a great idea. But I feel like this story, I feel like it misses on some of the plots. When we start focusing on one individual character, I feel like the story does kind of fall flat. When it comes to Jack, it starts feeling a lot more like a tease, like a generalization. When we go to Owen and Toshika, it's mainly just a fun little humorous gag, shall we say, and doesn't really fit thematically with the rest of the story and those elements being such a small aspect to this adventure. The stuff with Gwen is really interesting at the start with her forgetting Reese, especially, that's her whole thing. She is the heart, the soul, the one who still has a life outside of Torchwood, and now she's forgotten about it. And that's such a great idea. However, halfway through the episode, she just sort of remembers, and that is just dropped entirely. And with Yanto, his interest in stuff is mainly in this one circle about a few minutes in which he believes that he's a serial killer, which again is such a great idea. Maybe it's like an okay idea, but Gareth David Lloyd's performance makes it seem like that could have been easily one of the best Torchwood episodes if they had it just dedicated to that. But sadly, that was not meant to be. So, Adam, I think it's good, just not great, and could have been a lot better. So there you go, that's Adam. So join me next time when the Doctor gets reunited with an old friend as he investigates a conspiracy to do with tablets, a tablet making company that promises to remove all your fat. In fact, it seems like the fat gets up and walks away. Of course, aliens are involved. So join me next time for Partners in Crime, and I'll see you next time on the Doctor Who Marathon. Ta-ra!